Okay guys, in this session we're going to learn how to put a button on your window and how to make the button react when you do certain things to it. Okay, so let's get into this. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a class called JButton. We're gonna use this class to actually create the visible button to show on the screen. So let's get into this. I'm gonna say private JButton. Just gonna call it button. Okay, now I'm gonna have a method I'm gonna create here. I'm gonna call it init UI. Okay, I'm going to initialize that button, and this time I'm going to call it click me. And then now I'm going to add the button on the frame, but now I can't just add it like this. I need to add it to what is called the content pane. This is like a container that is within the window itself. So in order to add a button, I need to do something like get content pane, right? And then add it on the content pane. Okay, actually let me create a variable for the content pane here. Okay, now I've created my variable. It is a container. The container acts like a group. It's able to group different UI elements like your buttons, your labels, your links, etc. So now I've added the button in the content pane. So now let me run this program and see how it appears. Okay, now let me fix a few things here. Let me remove this code here. Okay, and then now let me run this again. Okay, we can see that we have a button here, right? And the problem with it is that it's filling the whole window, and we don't want that. We want it to be small and in a specific location. So let's fix that, right? Okay, now the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the layout of the container to null. The layout basically tells you how you're gonna lay out your elements within that container. In this case, we want to lay them out manually. In other words, we want to specify a specific location where we want our button to be, right? So now I'm gonna do this, right? And then now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call the set set bounds, yeah, for this button. In other words, I'm gonna set this method allows me to set the location and also the size of the button. So I wanted this button to be 10 pixels from the left and 10 pixels from above, and then the width I want it to be 100, the height I want it to be 50, right? And then now let us run our program here and check. Okay, now we can see that the button is not all over the place. It's there at the top left of the window, right? Okay, now we are able to place a button, right? But now when we click here, nothing happens, right? We need to make the button react or do something when we click it. So let me show you how that is done. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create what is called an action listener, right? So basically the way it works is that each and every time when you press a button, this action listener will be called, and then the action performed method of that action listener will be called. So I'm gonna create and initialize an action listener here. Action listener, call it listener. Okay, now inside this action listener, we're going to override a method called action performed, right? So now when the button is clicked, I'm simply gonna say I was clicked. I'm simply gonna print that out, right? And then now the last thing we need to do is add the action listener to the button. So we do this by calling the add action listener method of that button, right? And then as an argument, we're going to provide obviously the action listener. So now let me run this program again. Now we can see that each and every single time when I click this button, a message is printed out here. I was clicked. Okay guys, that's about it when it comes to the basics of creating a button and making it react to something. I'll catch you on the next tutorial.